Hey everybody, it's Joric. Welcome back. Hope you're doing great wherever you are in the world. Want to make this video because we are 1 year removed from Portugal. And this is going to be one of my, it won't be my last, but one of my, I guess maybe one of my last opinion-based videos regarding our time in Portugal. Since we've been gone for a year, although I try to keep up with the news and see what's going on with current events, since we're not there day to day, I think sometimes it's a little disingenuous to keep making videos without being like in the mix of things. But I hear from so many people about what their experience has been, so I wanted to give everyone here our perspective from being gone for 1 year. And hopefully some of this will resonate with you. And then I also want to give the perspective that I've heard from so many people since we've been gone who are thinking about moving to Portugal, or who have recently moved to Portugal, or are moving away from Portugal. So first up, I'm going to give you our perspective, and I'm also including, although my wife isn't on these videos, kind of both our feelings for being gone for 1 year. The interesting thing is we're happy. We were happy when we made the move to come back. It was time. When we moved to Portugal, we felt like it was a great opportunity. It was work related. We enjoyed it. But over a while, it became time that needed to come back home for a number of reasons, and I've illustrated many of those in past videos. But I will say, our perspective from being away is that the information about Portugal has gotten so much better, and I'll be honest, I think more balanced and fair, not heavily weighted toward it's so great and wonderful. There's more day-to-day, or the frustrations that people are mentioning in videos or putting in their blogs, or on Facebook and Reddit posts, which is great, because then that way you get to see, okay, it's not all rosy. That's been fantastic, because when we moved, it was all that. You didn't get any posts. I think I read one post from someone talking about the downside. It was all upside. And I'm glad to see that it's more fair and balanced. And being removed from it, I'm hearing from more people regarding that. Bureaucracy. We're glad to be gone for this last year. We moved end of August 2024, being gone for the year. Bureaucracy hasn't gotten better since we've been gone. So let's say we're in a renewal of our residence card, or if we were going for permanent residency or citizenship, just all of the delays and how long it would take to get things. We're happy that we don't have to deal with that, and feel very bad for the people that do have to deal with that, which in many cases are deal breakers for those of you that invested a lot of time there. The honeymoon period. For us, when we were there, we felt like we had a pretty extended honeymoon. Before, we felt like it was just day to day. It's another zip code, another place to live. Being gone, like I said, we're happy because although there's things that we miss about Portugal, if we missed it that much or wanted it that much, we would have never moved. We wanted to move on and do something different with our lives. But for the time we were there, we felt it was a good experience. But when you kind of get that itch that you need to do something else, I suggest you do something else versus try to plow through and go through all the baloney and ridiculousness. I will say, being gone for the year, there are a number of people that have reached out to us going, how did you integrate? That's a common question that gets asked. Were you able to have a lot of Portuguese friends? And at the end of the day, no. We knew the language at an A2 level. It's not a great level, but it's a conversational level. It's enough to get you citizenship or permanent residency. But when going to the restaurants, talking to neighbors, being able to have conversations, we felt like we were able to have those. But we didn't integrate as much as we thought we would. Our impression when we moved was that we were going to have a lot of friends that were locals. At the end of the day, we had a couple. And that was a win for us. I think the perspective from being gone is, we had overblown expectations of, oh yeah, we're going to go and have tons of people. And 95% of our friends were expats, and I think that's more realistic. And we had a few people along the way, some couples and a couple of other single people that we knew that were Portuguese, and we had some good conversations, and we felt like good friendships. So for us, integration, we had to lower our expectations on that, which is fine. And then, so that's us in a nutshell. Looking back, we feel like, again, it was good to move, but just from what's happened over the last year, even the politics of the last year, we're happy we're not there. We're happy that we were able to move back when we did. But that's not everybody's take. Some people are going, they're just fine with what's gone on. But the reason, and I've addressed this in my most recent video before this, is that so many people have reached out because of the information that they're getting up front has now dissuaded them from moving, or they want to move away. The bureaucracy has gotten ridiculous. The immigration is just, it doesn't work. It's a disaster, which it is, compared to we felt like we came in at a really good time. We slipped in right before it happened in 2020, so that's a good time, I think, before things just went south in many areas. And we had a good honeymoon period, we felt like. But from the perspective, that's our perspective, mostly positive, I'll say. From so many others, is that, again, speaking to the information, so much information out there that now they're getting the opposite or the downsides of living in Portugal. And I think that's important to see both sides of what that life can be like, good or bad, or good and bad. The bureaucracy, it's gotten worse. I don't foresee it getting better anytime soon. There's still many people from many countries moving to Portugal, not necessarily for retirement. Most of you watching this are probably going to be D7 people, maybe D8 digital nomad, but the overwhelming majority of people moving to Portugal are not D7 passive income. They're still looking to work, or they're getting out of their situation because of conflict in their country. That's going to continue. So that's going to, the bottlenecks at the immigration, regardless of what agency's in charge, until they double or triple their staffs or change some of the immigration policies, some of which may happen this month, it's going to continue to be a nightmare. The cost of living in Portugal didn't address that in our perspective, because we purchased a property with a mortgage, but we had a very low mortgage. So the rents of what they continue to go up across Portugal, even in smaller areas. So it becomes more burdensome for people on a fixed budget, especially those of you that are pensioners, to be able to live there and have that same lifestyle. In some places you might be able to move from London and New York, some really high-end areas, and move there and have a great life, and your rent or mortgage or your property is much more affordable than the place you're living in. But more and more people are having a problem living there just because of the cost of living has gotten ridiculous because of the real estate. The integration piece, here's what's tricky, is that I've found, at least, and I don't know so many people that have messaged me and emailed and I've talked to, but more of them have said, hey, we've learned the language, we've tried to integrate, and it hasn't worked. That there's a frustration going, all right, well, we're told that if you learn the language, you're going to be in. It's not the case. It's a tough crowd to get in with. And I would say, again, lower your expectations, because for us, we thought we would be able to know language and get in with people. Just wasn't the case. And I just think that's a cultural thing. I would like to think that it's not a Portuguese thing either. I think many countries are hard to get into the local culture if you are an immigrant from another country. It just is. I don't know too many countries out there that would be warm, welcome, embrace, smiles, big hugs for immigrants. It's just not the case. So I would go in with no expectations. I would say try to learn the language, and if you have any friends that are Portuguese, that's a win. Some of your friends may be Brazilian because you have at least, even though the language is a little different, you have some common threads there with most of the language, just more of the pronunciations, I guess. But the advice I have for people that are going to be moving to Portugal, and again, this is from being there and being gone, is that I would get yourself a prescription of happy pills. The overall mindset, I think, and something that's come up often with our experience, as well as hearing it from hundreds of other people, is that it's not the most positive place, not the most optimistic place. There isn't a lot of wanting to change things. It's more of we're going to be upset about it, but we're really not going to do anything about it year on end or from one year to the next. So if you are okay with how immigration is and your experience and the bureaucracy and things like that, that's how it is. And it's not a matter of you need to change your expectations and manage those to how Portugal runs and how Portugal exists. And sometimes that can really be challenging for people. It certainly was for us. And looking back, if we had stayed over this past year, based upon what's happened in a government-wise, I'll say politically, with some of the immigration potential reforms, just the things that go on day-to-day life, we would probably be looking to get out and either move back to the States or move someplace else based upon where we see things going. If we had our residence renewal that wasn't getting renewed, okay, goodbye. If we were trying to go for permanent residency or citizenship, which we were on the precipice of, it's going to take you another few years to get there just based upon all the backlog and bottlenecks, and we're not going to hire any more people or do anything to help this process, then, why do I want to be an immigrant in a country that frankly doesn't want me there? And I would say that's sort of what we got right before we were leaving, and it's certainly the feedback. You can read it in the comments of videos, and you can certainly, if I did snapshots of the email exchanges going back and forth with people, that's certainly what people are feeling, like they feel like they're not wanted. And I don't know if that's necessarily perception or if there's a reality there. But you really got to want it if you want to go to Portugal. You really have to bear through some of the baloney that's going to exist. And if you are okay with how things are and in watching a bunch of different videos and different perspectives, power through and enjoy it. I always say the older I get, the less baloney I want to deal with. So you got to ask yourself at this stage of your life, depending on where you live, do you think the baloney and some of the stuff that it takes and the obstacles to get into Portugal and to live there are still outweigh where you're living at the moment? For some of you, it's going to be absolutely. I don't care what you say, and if it's negative, I'm still going because it's far better than where we're living. It could very well be the case. In other cases, it's like, hold up. I may want to look at some other places that I don't have to spend this much time stressing out in my retirement or my pension days, because I just don't want to deal with a whole lot of stress as I get older. What do you think about that? Would love to get some commentary below on your thoughts on our perspective. What's your perspective? If you're living there or if you've left Portugal, please let us know what your thoughts were. If you loved it, you hated it, or somewhere in between. As always, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy your travels.